Hey everybody, it's Marilyn Wilson from RE Technology. So excited to have you here on our second of hopefully many coffee chats. And the whole idea of this series is to give all of us, some regularity in our schedule, which is all a little crazy right now. So grab your cup of coffee and come with us every morning. So just count on us at 9 o'clock every morning. We'll be sending you, and we'll show you what's coming in on Monday at the end of the session today. But we have a whole schedule of all kinds of great people. Jeff, I'm really excited to hear from him. He's done a lot of the things that that you guys are probably trying to figure out what to do, and he's actually systematized it to give you some ideas about how to do this in a better way. So welcome, Jeff. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Got my cup of Joe ready to roll.
All right. So I think probably by now everybody's getting to be professionals on GoToMeeting and Zoom, but just in case you don't know, if you look over in the right-hand side where there's the big box, you'll see a thing that says questions, and if you just click on that little gray triangle, it'll open it up, and feel free to ask us a question at any time. We really want this to be a conversation, and Jeff's got lots of great information to share, but he's really interested in what questions that you have and what are the things you're struggling or challenged with or just have questions about. So feel free to do that. So let me just introduce Jeff officially, and then we'll jump into our conversation. So I'm sure many of you have know him, read about him, see him. He's I don't know, Jeff, how many sessions did you have scheduled that you had to cancel because of all this? I don't even want to know. How many places were you supposed to be?
Live speaking sessions, probably 3.5 months worth. Yeah, it was over a dozen, 2 dozen.
Yeah, so I know I've been staying home too, obviously, like all of us, but he spreads his wealth regularly around to many different organizations and different events. So without the benefit of seeing him live, we thought we'd bring him to you today. So so with that, let's just jump in. I'm going to turn my screen off for a minute, then we'll jump back in, Jeff, maybe when we get to some of the things that
Sure.
you're gonna share with us. But the session's talking about how to survive the next 30, 60, and 90 days. So well, actually, before we even get there, let's just talk a little bit about what you're seeing out there. You're working a lot with teams, with agents, with brokerages. What's the mood out there? What's your mood? How are people feeling? What are they focused on right now?
Yeah, I think it's actually it changes day by day, literally. There's nothing even looking forward into a week from now. Everything is every day. People are feeling differently. They're getting different information. Let's face it, the very first 2 days of this transition, some of the most elite, experienced people in this business that are super strong were literally just open and transparent and saying, Jeff, I'm just scared, man. I don't know what's going on. And, I think in general, we're human, right? So I don't care what level of real estate we're in or executive role we're in. We're human and we have emotions, right? There's a lot of unknown. It's a lot, I think we have to give permission to feel this way, first of all. Let's not battle ourselves with it. It's okay.
Exactly.
It happens. I'm sure every level has a different level of anxiety and stress.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's always how you handle it. It's always
a
battle to how can we handle it. And some days are going to be better than others. I'm watching some days. I got some of our clients like ready to rock and roll. And then tomorrow morning, it's a conversation like, I don't know. I didn't sleep. I'm worried. I heard more news and I get it. So
yeah.
My job, keep people moving forward, give them strategy, try and keep people focusing on things they can do versus things they can't. There's a lot of things we can't do, right? So, hopefully we get a chance to share some of the things we can do. And, maybe we look at things as here's an opportunity to do things we were never able to do. Like we never always had time. I love to use the word time.
I know, it's so true.
Everyone talks about time, even, when we're super busy. And Marilyn, you know this better than anybody. The biggest complaint we'll hear is I didn't have time to do that. I don't have time to look at that stuff. I don't have time to learn this new technology.
Right.
And I'm not saying, you're sitting around doing nothing, but we might have some strategic time now to do those things that we never had time to do in the past.
Yeah, and that kind of the idea of this coffee chats, and I know there's many people that have stepped up to try to help agents right now, but the idea was dedicate some time to yourself in that context, right? So we can say we don't have time. A lot of times it's that we don't want to make time, right? It's
right.
Let's face it, most of us in real estate are people. That's why we're here. We're not here to build spreadsheets and worry about CRM systems, But
Right.
the smart and the most successful people in our industry understand that what makes success is business discipline and sales discipline,
Right.
and you just have to do it. If even if it's against your nature, and I got to tell you, it's totally against my nature to do something the same thing every day at the same time. I'm just not that person, and I know many agents and brokers aren't either.
Yeah.
But like you say, this is the time, and even if you said, okay, I'm going to take my 1 hour a day is going to be coffee chats, because I can tell you we're bringing in CRM experts, online marketing experts, people that do this with agents and brokers successfully all the time. We're even bringing in MLS folks, frankly, that have great tools that you don't have to pay anything for other than your normal subscription, that are
Right.
great ways for listing exposure and lead gen, and people just kind of don't even pay attention to them. They just sort of take it for granted that if the MLS system is on, that's all I need, and that's not true. There's a lot more you can get out of those, and Jeff's going to talk in a little bit about cutting back where you're on things that aren't really creating a return on investment for you. The flip side of that is taking things that you are spending money on that you sort of, I don't want to say have to, but probably will continue to, like an MLS or like your brokerage,
Mm-hmm.
and taking all the stuff they're already giving you and trying to make full use out of those things. Because I can tell you that every broker I've worked with, Jeff, you probably agree, they spend a lot of time and energy thinking about what the tools are that they bring in that they believe are going to help their agents be successful the most, and
Yeah.
yet they still struggle to get a lot of their agents to use it for exactly what you were talking about, right? I'm too
Adoption.
busy. Adoption is the key. So you have stuff sitting right now that you don't have to pay 1 more cent for than things you're already investing in, that you're just not fully leveraging. I talked to an agent the other day. She's part of CRMLS. I'm in California. She's out at that one. They have, I don't know, 15 different products that they offer, and every brokerage is the same way, right? And I said, so when's the last time that I took her into the dashboard of the homepage of the MLS, and I said, here's all these different tools that are available. When's the last time you even clicked on any of them? She said, never.
Right.
Right? And let's be honest, that's how a lot of us are. We know that stuff's there, but we don't take advantage of it. So the
Right.
broker's got a dashboard too. Your coach has a dashboard too. Have you
Right.
taken advantage of all that stuff? My
No.
guess is, if we're honest with ourselves, we'll say no. Maybe at some level we might have it to some degree, but have we fully taken on all that stuff and done everything we could do and taken training on all those things? Probably not. So
Yeah.
that's what, to your point about making time for yourself, that's what we should be doing right now, because we do have time, and there's tons of great resources out there right now. And frankly, there's more and more all the time, even this week coming out
It's
at you,
overwhelming.
right?
It's
Yeah,
overwhelming.
it's almost too much now. So that's again why we said maybe we just say, just tune in at this one place and we'll just bring you a variety of stuff, so you don't have to like sift through a million different things. We'll just bring good people to you that we know have already been so super successful at helping agents and brokers, like Jeff. So that's
Thank you.
why we're here. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
And you have
right.
to also realize you have to be careful who you're actually listening to at some point. There is,
Yes.
there's a lot of people out there that are talking up a storm too in light of this, and just, always ask where they've done the dance first. Have they been in your
Yes.
shoes? Have they,
Yes.
not saying everyone has to have sold real estate, but have they been in the shoes of winning listings and getting market shifts and all that good stuff? Pick and
Exactly.
choose.
So to that point, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and kind of how you got to Spark Tank, and then we'll talk about some of the tools of things you've got to help people, because there's some really good stuff
Absolutely.
I want to show
Yeah,
you.
it's a fun history of where it's been, but there's been challenges. I started in real estate in 1988,
Mm-hmm.
34 years, I guess, already. I've been through residential. I did some commercial work as well. I've owned some brokerages, ran brokerages for a while, so I understand walking in the shoes of recruiting and retention and training.
Mm-hmm.
And then prior to Spark Tank, I was an executive for a large franchise brand in North America with
Okay.
about 800 offices. And we parted ways so I could start my own company. And my
Mm-hmm.
own company was built to help. I like to use the words. I always got tired of chasing people who never wanted to be better. Like, why chase people?
Right.
There's a group
Right.
of people who always say, I want help. I'm coachable. I'm willing to do this. Share it with me. So I
Right.
wanted to seek out people, companies, brokerages, agents, and teams that simply raise their hand and say, listen, I want to go from 28 deals to 50 deals. Let's figure out how. All
Right.
about strategy, all about sales and marketing. Unfortunately, I used to have a title that was technology related.
Right.
And while, look, I say to this anything, no matter how much tech you have, if it doesn't help the sales process win business or know how to sell it and use it,
Exactly.
so I'm really in sales and marketing Technology just happens to be the buzzword people like to use. So we do a lot of speaking across the country.
Mhm.
And we try to deliver messages of valuable content they can go execute. Real
Perfect.
stuff, real nuggets. And then we built Coach 52,
Exactly.
an onboarding platform for coaching that's on demand for agents and brokers. So they have weekly accountability and coaching. We want to help.
Perfect.
We want to do. So
Gotcha. Awesome. So, our topic is how to survive for the next 30, 60, 90 days.
yep.
Why don't we start with 30? Tell me, what should we be doing in the next 30 days? And do you want me to put any of those charts up at this point, or do you want to just talk a
Um,
little bit?
yeah, let me talk a little bit, and then we'll pop them up. I think right
Okay.
now is the time you have to, and look, I know as a top producer, or as a producing mentality, as an agent
Right.
mentality, and even a broker, our personality is not to sit and look at numbers and not to sit and evaluate things. You know that,
Mm.
Marilyn, right? It's not our
Right.
style. But
Uh-uh.
now's your chance to do this. You have to find time to work on this as a business, not just I'm an agent and every day I wake up and go. You got to
Right.
stop and you got to do a little bit of planning. And we
Okay.
always talk about business plans and they do them in January and they end up in the drawer and we don't see them again. But here's your chance to evaluate what you're using and what you're not, right? And what you are using it to the fullest extent? How much are you paying for it? And we always said, and we chatted earlier, is about, am I actually getting a return on it? And a lot of people don't know that answer.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you evaluate, am I getting a return? What's going to trigger when you start to think about this? I'm spending $300 a month on this. I'm spending $500 a month on that. You really have to stop and look and probably realize if you can't answer that question, there's your first problem, is because you can't
Right.
spend money and not have a way to evaluate or track some mechanism. And while I'm not super a numbers guy, the one hot button I do have is an agent knowing their own numbers or a broker knowing their numbers, meaning
Mm-hmm.
simple numbers like, hey, Jeff, we're going to be hitting June 1st. Where are you versus your goal right now? That's my big
Right.
hot button. Like,
Right.
if I wanted to make 120, am I at 60? Am I 58? Am I ahead or behind? You need to know.
Right.
We don't. Most of us don't. We're guessing, I think. How much do I have pending? I'm not sure. And the reason you need to know that is because you need to know what's working and what's not. Because if you're behind your goal, like any sports that's out there, you need
Right.
to know, how do I adapt and how do I adjust? How do I pivot? And I treat a lot of things like sports. I'm not sure how many sports fans are out here, but like, you go into halftime for a reason. You figure out what worked the first half and what didn't, and you come out with a new plan.
Right.
You don't just stay with the original plan. Am I getting enough listings? If not, let's figure out why. Let's figure out what I'm saying and doing. What am I doing not enough of? And
Right.
the answers are all really clear when you stop to look at what you really did. If you don't have that information, you're traveling without a map. And that's
So,
unfortunate.
so with this crazy time that we're in, that's obviously so unpredictable, right? You hear one person say we're going to be out of it in 3 days, and another one say we're going to be out of it in 3 years, and God only
Yep.
knows what the real answer is. Probably
Yep.
God's probably the only one that does know the answer to that, actually, at this point.
Truth.
Um, so let's just use your example of 120, right? So I wanted to do 120. Let's say that I've heard from a lot of people that they had really, really strong Februarys,
Mm-hmm.
which is good. So they may even been a little ahead for the quarter if you
Yep.
think about it in quarters, right? So if I went on 120, they were a little ahead on the 30, right? But the second quarter is gone for all intents and
Right.
purposes, right?
Yeah.
So let's say I still want to make that 120. If I let's just assume that this isn't going to be over until the end of June,
Yeah.
right? Let's just
We're
say
working
for
on
argument's
second
sake,
half.
yeah, second quarter's a wash. We're just not gonna. Not that I shouldn't say that. It's not completely a wash. A lot of people are still doing business, which is great. Maybe
That's
not
right.
at the same rate. Is that what you're hearing too? That they're still doing business, just maybe at a little slower rate?
That's right. In some areas, because there were a lot of pendings in the pipeline too that are still struggling to get closed.
Yeah.
Obviously, trying to generate the new activities, people are a little unsure of what to say and do to generate and prospect, but the
Yeah.
messaging is different. But I think we need to first figure out, I think it's important to know that if you first say you want to make 120, can I share with you one of the biggest mistakes people are making when they're trying to even
Absolutely.
say, I want to make 120? They're
Yeah.
not even sure if 120 is going to be enough to pay their bills and make money.
Yeah. So should we show
That's the
that
scary.
that should we show that chart that you have
Yeah.
to talk
So I
about
think
that?
I think one
Yeah.
of the
Let's
things you
do
need to
that.
start with, because first of all, everyone throws up a number like, oh, I want to make X. But what I'm finding is when you sit down to the nitty gritty of things, and remember, I'm not a detailed person at all. Obviously, it's a little compressed, but that's okay. It's a screenshot of something. You
Yeah.
need to sit down and really figure out from your personal and your business, how much money do you really need to make to just break even and then make some money? Like, I mean, to put
Right.
away money. And I'm telling you, I watch people with this exercise say they need to make 100, but they're spending 120 and they
Whoops.
don't know it
Right.
because there's details they never thought about. Like some don't realize they're spending 600 a month on, you know, ordering food in or whatever it is as a family, but they don't count that because it's just happening. They don't realize how much they're spending on their postcard mailings or their lead gen services. They just have a round number, but they're not calculating, oh, you know, Facebook ads are charging me another 200 bucks. I forgot about that. And
So
when you
should
really
they
realize,
be should they have a QuickBooks or something like that ideally, like have an accounting package to keep track of this and more like this is very granular what you've done, which I love, the monthly business expenses.
yep,
Would you suggest that they set up a you know, a QuickBooks or Broker Mint or what's that other one called? Mint. There's a lot of
Mint,
different
yeah,
Mint,
Mint,
right?
yeah, absolutely
Mm-hmm.
Mint. Or, I mean, ideally the answer is yes. Will most of them? Probably not.
Right.
But, you know, most people will just default to a spreadsheet in
Right.
reality. But should they have a QuickBooks? Of course, for accounting, and any CPA would love that, of course.
Right.
But the reality is most won't. And I think most aren't thinking about the very specific things that are $100 here and $100 there,
Right.
because everyone's trying to, like, I'm watching everybody, big companies, like, how do I cut right now to save? How do I cut the save? But you don't want to cut things that might be working. You know, you don't want to cut something that in 3 months you still need and
Right.
you're just biting yourself right now. So
Exactly.
you really need to start to manage that. And I think what most are going to find is there's a lot of expense they didn't figure out, like their licensing and other stuff and dues. And there's going to be thousands that calculated you didn't realize just
Right.
when you get organic.
So
So that's,
if you don't have it, should you just go through your like how do you like this list on the right hand side, the monthly business expenses?
yep,
Well, all of them, but especially the stuff on that side. Do you just kind of go through your credit card or and you can even just do this manually, right? Just do a list of all of those and see where
it's
it's coming out.
100%. And it's just an estimate. There is no real right or wrong number. It's going to
Right.
vary. But
Right.
like a good example, like in my world, I've got 6 kids, right? So if I had to calculate like just school lunches, like as a personal expense, I
Right.
don't realize it's probably $200-300 a month. I don't think
Oh
about
yeah.
that. It's just part of school, right? So
Right.
when we're thinking about our business, you might say, well, business is and personal is personal. But the reality is, if I'm going to say I would need to make 120, is it really enough?
Right.
You
And
could be a goal that's falling short.
one thing that's not here too, which is to a bigger question about surviving for the long haul, is where's the goal for savings, right?
Right. Yeah, and it may even be down below. And these are just estimates. You can even add in your own
Right.
categories. This is just something we use in one
Sure.
of our platforms. But just to
Right.
give you a snapshot of, let's think about those things. Like I go to
Right.
I'm attending webinars. I'm going to a convention every year. That costs me $3,000. Or I go to Inman. That costs me whatever. So you
Right.
got to start thinking of that. But now, how do we get more granular? Let's say you start looking at your expenses and you start to say, well, I'm spending this much in lead gen services or marketing.
Right.
If you don't know how to measure it, that's the first problem. Don't cut it just yet. Sit down
Exactly.
and realize, how much really did I get from realtor.com? And you're going
Right.
to learn two things. It's not just because here's where I hear a lot, and I got to say it like it is. Just because you have a lead gen source and you didn't convert enough leads or you didn't get a return doesn't necessarily mean the platform didn't work. You also have
Exactly. Thank
you
you.
need to look in the mirror sometimes and realize that
Hmm.
maybe I'm not doing a good enough job at
Yes.
working them and converting them. And that's just truth.
Yep.
I had a gentleman yesterday up in the Canadian market tell me exactly. He said, and here's the exact scenario. And he didn't have any realization of this, but this is real life. He said,
Hmm.
Jeff, I have a lead gen platform. I'm doing 28 transactions a year. Out of the lead gen platform, I'm doing 20 out of the lead gen platform, out of my 28, which is
Wow.
scary, first of all, because that's way
Yeah.
too, you should have more referral based business.
Right.
But then he said, I'm referring out other leads to people to generate a small percentage of their transactions, like giving them leads. I said,
Okay.
well, if you're giving them leads, how many are they converting a year? He's like, well, on average, about 2. So you're giving people leads, 30, no skin in the game. You're spending the money, and
Right.
they're just cherry picking the good ones, and you're
Yeah.
burning through
That's not.
cash.
Yeah. That's not good.
You should be converting those leads if that's what you're good at. And if
Right.
you're not, let's find a way to get better at that, because that's how you generate the return.
Right.
And the light bulb went off and said, well, holy cow, how do I monitor that? Like if I thought I was going to get a little piece of the revenue because I can't handle it. I go, you're just spending money, giving them free stuff with no skin in the game, and they're just
Exactly.
dabbling 1 or 2 when they get around to it.
Exactly. And
So
it's hurting your brand too, because if they came into you in the first place, they think you're not following up.
course. So
right? So it's not good. Yeah.
you really, that's the hard part is most people are all going to think I'm really good at this, or I followed up with them, or I've done enough. I called them 3 times, but they
Yeah,
might buy in 6
it
months.
is a time to look yourself in the mirror in a lot of contexts. You know,
That's
you
right.
just look at it from a personal context. Like I've talked to so many people. I was talking to a guy yesterday in a webinar. He said, I'm actually getting to know my children. Like I was on the road so much, I literally didn't even know my children.
That's
So
right.
that's at a much more deeper level than what we're talking about today. But it really is talking to ourselves about, you know, let's get real fundamental. First of all, do I love this business? If I don't love this business, get out because it is way too much work,
Yeah.
right? Let's
And
start at the beginning. And then if you do love this business, then you got to think about, all right, am I going to treat this like I have a boss that sits on top of me every day, like regular quote employees have, right? We're all independent contractors. That's a great thing. But are we giving ourselves, are we creating that discipline like you talked about, like a good athlete would have, where they're going to work out every day, where
that's
they're going to
right.
talk to their coach on a regular basis, where they're going to do, you know, they're going to make sure that their clients are connected with them. Are they going to do the right things? And if you are, you can be really successful in this business. And I think the more organized you get, the more happy you get, don't you? Because you see more return on your energy. Do you agree with that, Jeff?
Yeah, I think that's one of the big things we talk about lately too is getting that little, because none of us are really good organizational people. We usually
Right.
end up hiring somebody that's really good at that, opposite my
Exactly.
personality. But in the
Yep.
meantime, I still need to do it myself. I need to know how.
Right. Right.
Um, I'll tell you one of the things we've been trying to focus on when I hear the term a lot, and I had to dissect it a little bit. We hear the word, well, Jeff, I'm just going to time block an hour and organize myself, or I'm going to time block an hour and call my leads from Zillow, Realtor.com.
Hmm.
So I kind of stopped that a little bit because I say you're using that term so loosely. I'm going to
Yeah.
time block. But you
Right.
know what? You time block and there's a million notifications going on, squirrels all over the place, and you're just calling people or going through the motions. I said,
Hmm.
why don't you think about it differently? Let's stop calling it if you're going to time block, let's do this. What do you want out of the hour? Instead of saying I'm just going to call
Exactly.
my leads, what do you want? And they would say, well, what do you mean? Okay, if you're going to call leads, what's the end? What would make you feel happy with that hour? Like,
Right.
well, if I get an appointment. Okay, well, 1 appointment or 2 appointments? Well, 2. Okay, good. Let's work on 2 appointments in the hour. Let's focus on 2 appointments.
Right.
Now my hour feels better. If I get 1 or 2 appointments, I'm like, boom, I'm done.
Right.
But in the meantime, you're just going through the motion of like on the wheel of time block.
Exactly.
So time block with like a goal, like a little thing. Like if I just did this, it'd be awesome.
Right. Okay.
And I think it changes the mindset of what you're trying to do. It'll change your tone of voice. It'll change you on the phone. It'll change what you're actually trying to get accomplished. And you might even get it done faster.
Exactly.
So
So
I
I
think
want to
that's,
go back to something that you said earlier. We talked about the you talked about that there's two things that can create return on investment. You talked about the idea of you looking yourself in the mirror, but also in evaluating the tool. So let's say I've got all these things that you've described here, and
yep.
let's not talk about cell phones and MLS dues, things like that. You have to do that stuff, right? But all the
Yeah, of
things
course.
that are discretionary at some level. How do you
Yeah.
decide which ones are good? And like, if I look at that and I say, okay, lead subscriptions, how do I look at that? And let's say I did spend $1,000. How do I know that money's well spent or not? How do I make that decision right now? Because it's, if I haven't done it
This is where
historically,
you
how do I
realize
do
right
it?
now, you're either going to have systems in place that track it or not. And that's why you can't evaluate anything you can't track. If it's not measurable, how do you track it? Like I can't, if I say I'm going to lose weight, but I don't have a scale, how do I know if I'm losing weight? Or if I don't have any mechanism to track anything, you can't measure. So I think there might be a question or two popping up somewhere in the questions.
Yeah, so there's a question about that. Kim says measuring's always been of use. I agree, but how do we get to the 30, 60, 90? So let's get back to very specific recommendations. I think
Yep.
the first thing you're saying for the 30 days is to do this, right? This is one of the first 30-day activities is
Just
to
evaluate your
look at
business so you
this.
know where, and if you're a broker or a team, this is where you get to evaluate people.
Right,
Are they in the right positions? Are they in the right roles? And then as your solo agent, what are my activities I'm doing? Because that's the next thing I really care about, because this is just detail
right,
stuff. Really, the
right.
money comes in. What activities have I been doing? And I'll
Exactly.
tell you, look at your calendar. And like I know right now your calendar is probably a little bit empty-ish, but it shouldn't be, because to me, if it's not planned in your calendar, it's not going to happen either. But look at saying, where did my listings come from? Where am I actually
Okay.
working to get listings? What have I done to generate what I used to like to use the term as IPAs, income producing activities?
Okay.
What income producing activities am I doing? Because that's the point most people don't like to do because it's uncomfortable.
Right.
Do I have, and this is a talk I do, but it's called 7 streams of people. Do I have
Okay.
multiple lead sources? Do I go to my BNI meetings?
Okay.
Am I going to my school PTAs and connecting with people? Where am I getting my business from? And if you don't know, let's figure that out. Because what we found out yesterday with that one gentleman is he's got almost 80% of his business coming from lead gen. But if that went away, he's screwed. So
Right.
where is it really coming from? So sit down and look at your past 12 months transactions. Where'd they come from?
So to the point of Kim, obviously we can't go to PTA meetings right now.
Of
What's the
course.
best way right now to if and maybe this isn't even a lead source that you have. What's the best way to generate a lead source? And we've talked a lot in the last few days, and I'm sure you guys have read stuff about this too that are on the call. You can't just go for the hard sell right now, obviously, right? When people have
You need to be reaching out to people.
right.
Um,
Yeah,
just
so what's the best way right now to not necessarily get a listing that's going to happen in 3 days, because there are some people that frankly don't want people in their homes, even if they're considered essential and that people are allowed as single people. But
That's
what
right.
would you say? How do we? Let's just assume we're going to be out of business till the end of June
Yep.
in our normal way of doing business, right?
That's
What
right.
should we be doing now to create the pent up demand or the pent up relationship or opportunity? So when July 1st comes or whatever day it is, I'm just making that date up, right? When we can start to go see people again, what should we be doing between now and then so let's get specific.
So rather than just calling everybody to call them, here's what you need to
Right.
do.
Okay.
We talk about being community driven. Find out in your
Right.
community who's actually helping, like who's serving food, who's delivering, who's doing all the things our clients need, who's
Right.
got healthcare stuff. Find 5, just an area. Find 5 things in your community of who's
Okay.
offering deliveries, food, discounts, special things that you could help support and promote. Right?
Okay.
Find 5.
Okay.
Now you're calling your customers. Hey, Marilyn, it's Jeff Lobb. Listen, I was thinking about, and the words, hey, I was just thinking about you. Wanted to
Mhm.
check in and not only see how you're doing, to see if there's anything I could do also to help.
Yes.
And offering that help. And it's really not a business conversation, but just offering to help. They're not even sure what that means. Like, hey, Marilyn, I put together a list of like 4 or 5 businesses in town that are offering some great discounts and
Right.
delivering food. Could I share that with you too? Because I really want to make sure you got everything you need. And you'll be surprised the conversation and the anxiety that comes out of them because they want to talk.
Right.
They're going to remember that talk. It's going to be an emotional conversation in some cases. Some are going to be like, can you believe this? It's crazy. The conversations are much easier. And all you're
Yeah.
doing is building rapport and treating people like humans.
Okay. Gotcha. So what if they ask you a question like, oh my God, Jeff, I'm really worried that, with all of this crazy stuff that the value of my house is really dropping. I don't know. I'm really worried that I can't pay my mortgage, and I'm really worried if I don't pay my mortgage, it's going to go away. Like when you get to you get back to some of the financial realities or the kinds of things people worry about with their homes, how do you answer questions like that?
You need to be educated first because there's a lot of
Okay.
miscommunication right now when it comes to finance, especially
Okay.
with the mortgage forbearance and the all this stuff, like people thinking it's just free money for 3 months or whatever. So you need
Right.
to have those resources. We as real estate agents have to realize it's just not about the real estate. We have to be very similar to what Apple is. Apple's an ecosystem, right?
Right.
It's not a hardware, it's not a software, it's not an app. It's an ecosystem to all these things. We
Right.
have to be an ecosystem to the financial people. You know what? Let me put you in touch with my mortgage professional if you're concerned
Mhm.
about that, and they can explain
Right.
to you exactly how that's going to work. Or my
Yeah.
financial person. You need to have your extensions to be the conduit to that,
Okay.
not
And
just giving them misinformation.
would you do
But
anything like do CMAs or things like that make sense, or like pulling an RPR report for them? Does that stuff make sense right now, or is that
100%. If they're concerned
okay?
about that, listen,
Yeah.
you know what? I certainly value concern, but here's the good news. If they really want to talk about real estate, there is good news. I mean,
Right.
yes, buyers may want to see things differently. We may not want to show homes the same way,
Right.
but we still can do business. We still can help you now to prepare for what you want to do. So
Okay.
it might be that let's just talk about your home a little bit. If you're really concerned about it, tell me, get your RPR report, send it to them. You're giving them helpful data and a
Right.
conversation that's putting them at ease or educating them along the way for 3 months, 7 months, a year from now, whatever it might be. So you've
Right.
got to be prepared to do that, but we don't go down that path until they do. So
So those that don't know what I'm talking about with RPR, it's called Realtor Properties Resource, and
100%.
just about, I think, 500 or 600 of the MLSs out of the 700 in the country offer that tool for you, or if it's not, your association has it. That's a great example of what I'm talking about. If you have a minute, go check that thing out. They're beautiful reports. You can completely brand them to yourself. You can do like a small, medium, large version of them, depending on how much data you think your client might want. If you have people that are more accounting or finance driven, they might want more detail, and that will cost you nothing. And it literally, you put the subject property in, you push go, and they have a report in 30 seconds. It's awesome.
That's
But
right.
that's a good example of the kind of thing you can do right now while you've got a minute to breathe, because those
That's
are
right.
great tools, and a lot of people don't take advantage of them.
Right.
Okay, now there's a couple more slides here. We're at kind of at the 30-minute hour. Do we want to talk at all about any
These
of
are
these
just
kinds of things?
calculators and detail
Okay,
stuff. What I really want to shift to, I mean, these are things to really
right,
figure out where your business is. What I
yeah,
want to prepare everyone for is, let's look at 60/90 is you need to start to prepare for things that are going to be a little bit different when we come out the other side.
right,
We're going to find that maybe not everybody is going to welcome everyone into their home. There might be, and I'm going to be honest, there might be people that say, listen, Jeff, we want to sell our house. We just don't want to invite 20 people in. We'd rather maybe
hmm,
conference first and
yep,
talk to you first, and maybe pick one and then invite you in.
yeah.
So how prepared are you? Not because you know how to push a button and go on GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar or Zoom. It's, are you prepared to deliver a presentation this way? Is
Good
your
point.
listing presentation even in
Digital,
the right format, even in the
right,
right messaging right now?
right,
Is it visual? Is it pretty? Is it
hmm,
showing how you're going to do social media marketing? Is it going to
right,
show how you could show a home virtually? Are you prepared to show a home virtually right now?
right.
And we've got clients down in the Florida market right now that went full in on this. They went like quick. They're just doing virtual. I mean, they're allowed to show homes. They're still not out of the boundaries, but they're doing like virtual open houses. They're doing virtual showings. So
Hmm,
you might need to step up your technology a little bit and say, well, how would I do that? And I know a simple way I would do that.
hmm,
So the two obviously big techs are one, obviously everyone knows Matterport, big
hmm,
platform. And
right.
then there's also one of my up and coming favorites that's been doing a great job as more of a do-it-yourselfer, is the Rico platform. Rico, the camera
Hmm,
company, Rico
yeah, Rico
Tours.
Tours, yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, I don't even, they might even be giving you the equipment or something if you pay for the year, but for like $500 a year, I can have virtual tours, and you do it yourself. It's not hard to do. You do it on your phone or you pay someone to go do it. But here's the point. If I had a really good walkthrough tour with a floor plan, and someone said, and I might even do this before I start running buyers all over the place right now too, is, hey,
Hmm,
Jeff, I want to see this house. Great. Why don't we do this? Let's set up a 20-minute video conference first. Let me
yep,
show you the home and walk you through it first online.
yep,
I can put that baby up on the screen. And here's the point I'm going to make. Are you prepared to know how to share your screen, not fumble around?
right.
Like, oh, and click on folders and look awkward, because what we do at the kitchen table as a listing presentation may have to be done in some cases like this. Not saying all the
So yeah,
time. Good.
that's a good point though. I mean, many listing presentations are paper based, right?
Right.
Should everybody take their PowerPoints and take their listing presentations and make them into a PowerPoint so you can use a system like a GoToMeeting to walk them through it, just like we're doing right now, and they do exactly the same thing we're doing right now. They turn on their camera, you turn on your camera, and then you put the presentation right in front of them and walk them through it page by page.
Yeah, page by page. And I got to be honest, most of us are very wordy and choppy and not design people. Our presentations, the ones that are going to win,
Hmm,
need to have very visual presentations,
yes.
very pretty and easy to show.
Hmm,
And the more words you have, we don't need to hear you read from a screen, just like I don't need to hear you read from a screen if you're on a stage.
right.
So we need to work on a better visual presentation, know how to deliver it. And you can say, Jeff, well, that might not happen with me. Okay, but if it does, someone's going to take your business. That's just how it's going to go. Someone's going to be able to do it, and you're not. It's how I
Right.
think it's how the shift is going to happen. And then we need to start saying, what can I send them in advance before we get on that call? So we
Hmm,
might say, I've got a good pre-listing package, but is it showing my virtual tours and the video that I do and my social media marketing? I don't
right.
want to say I use social media marketing. I want to show you my social media marketing,
Exactly.
right? So look, I could show this all day long. I could tell you I use Instagram, or I could show you my Instagram and how I'm selling homes.
Right.
When I show you, it's going to win versus me telling you.
So in that case, like Instagram, for example, you'd grab a screenshot of an Instagram ad and you could put it in a PowerPoint like this. Or if you're live, you could literally, and this gets a little more complicated to your point, you have to learn how to do this, but you can actually share your phone, like the live version of your phone on a screen.
100%.
You just have to learn how to flip, and this is, stuff that it's more technical, but it's not that difficult, but you have to learn how to do it. But the simple way would be just grab a screenshot of it, put that on a PowerPoint, and then say, here's an example of the kind of Instagram ads that I do for other folks, and here's how it turned out, right?
Yeah. Can I share one? I know time is running out. Can I share an
Yeah,
advanced tip on that real quick? Because I think
absolutely.
it's an
Absolutely.
absolute differentiator. So for those who know how to use Instagram and obviously the hashtagging of, you can put a hashtag in a word. I tell this all the time. It's a great strategy. Let's say you sold 20 homes in the past, right?
Right.
And they're pretty, they're beautiful. They got a sold on it. Like on Instagram, it looks beautiful because you did a nice job with it.
Right.
Create a unique hashtag that most likely no one in the world would ever use, so that
Okay.
it's unique to you. So in my case, I might create a hashtag Jeff Lobb sold homes.
Okay.
Like no one's ever going to think of that, right?
Right.
Hashtag all of my sold properties with that
Okay.
by
Oh,
20.
smart.
Now
Right.
I just go to Instagram and type in the hashtag Jeff Lobb sold homes, and it filters and shows you my
Oh,
storyboard of all of the beautiful. So I can even say, go to Instagram right now and search Jeff Lobb sold homes. Boom, here they all are.
that's awesome. That's a great
So if
idea.
I was in person, I could do it. If I'm online, I could do it, or I could tell them how to do it and
Hmm.
use such a unique hashtag that no one else is going to use it.
Gotcha.
So simple way to filter and show people
Mhm.
what you're doing. And to me, it'd be like, wow, that's pretty impressive versus, oh no, yeah, we use Instagram and Facebook and acting all like, I think we use it. We can show
Mhm.
you. So this is where we're shifting, helping
Mhm.
people move their presentations. How do I deliver it? How do I not fumble?
Right.
And the ability to now get virtual tours and not just send them to people, walk them through it right here.
Right.
Because I'd rather see you like this than just go, yeah, I sent it to you last night. Did you get a chance to look at it?
Right. That's not nearly as powerful as like walking through it, because it's like you say, you're trying to replicate the kitchen table. There's
That's
no
right.
way to do that physically. But if you and I are sitting here and I have a question, or we say something, or hey, I own my own business and I'm worried, and hey, hold on a second, let me go and I'll pull up the SBA website for you and show you exactly what you should do to go, register to get your disaster recovery loan or whatever it might
That's right.
be.
Or, hey, I got a
Yeah.
CMA. I know I sent it to you, but let's go through it together right now.
Right.
Boom, up on the screen. Let me
Yeah.
show you what I mean by these. Like, you got to get comfortable with this
Yeah.
because I could see a lot of fumbling, a lot of scrambling. I don't know
Yeah.
where my file went. And it takes
I've seen
practice
it. I've seen it with companies that are supposed to know how to do it, with professionals. Lots of
all the time.
technology companies. This in the last couple of weeks that everybody's been starting to do this. We've been doing this at RE Technology for 8 years, so it's very comfortable. For some people, the system's going down. The wrong person can't get in. There's a million crazy
Right.
things. So, and that's one thing that as fellow realtors that you could do is you could practice this, right? So
You
maybe
have to
you're
find your colleague to practice this on and make the
exactly.
mistakes now. Because listen,
Yeah.
right now, what you don't see, and if maybe you are seeing it, but right now, I've got 6 children at home on iPads on Google Classroom learning how to share screens. I've got
Right.
teachers learning how to share screens. We've got parents sitting next to kids sharing, Zoom and Skype calls.
Exactly.
Everyone is getting used to pushing the button to do this. So
Right.
it's not going to be the primary source, hopefully, when we're at the other end, but it's definitely going to be part of our marketing that we have not yet learned how to do great yet.
Yeah,
And
and like you
where,
say, it may become a bigger part. So let's say I've got someone I live in Ohio and they're looking at a house in Florida. Like there may be still times when virtual work, or I'm here but my husband's on the road and we want to go through these houses. Can we get on a Skype call or go to? I don't even like Skype personally. I
no,
like Zoom to go to
I'm a
meeting.
Zoom guy for the most part,
Yeah,
but
I like Zoom and
you
go to
got to pick
meeting.
one, just whatever it is, pick
Yeah,
it, own it, but really don't learn how to
exactly.
not to fumble and delivering it. It matters.
Yeah. So first thing is just to stay calm. That's what I'm hearing
Yeah.
you say, right? What would you say? Let's just, we're kind of hitting to the end of our hour here, or 45 minutes. But what would you say is, let's get 3 tangible things people can walk away from today. What if they're going to get off this call right now and say, okay, I'm going to invest an hour in my future development. What would you suggest that they do?
Over communicate and talk to people every day, not
Okay.
just your friends, the people that you've got in your database that you've never talked to before, that you've never called. stop automated marketing right now. Stop automation because automation's not relevant right now.
Okay.
Stop automation. I got magazines and stuff that were this month, but not even relevant to what's happening today. So stop automation and
Okay.
forward communicate with people. Be empathy driven, help them, just be human. One.
And what would you prepare them to have ready to talk about on that call? Like, let's just, you said them, but let's just summarize real quick.
Just what I talked about, those community things in their own community that might be helpful. You
Yep.
know, Walgreens stuff with a pizzeria that's trying to make money and deliver, and who's going out of their way to help support what they need right now, right?
Okay.
Because
Okay.
you could just say, how can I help? But hey, I got some 5 or 6 companies that are doing a great job. I'll share them with you. They're offering discounts on pizza for the kids and everything else. Here you go.
Okay. Perfect.
Be a resource, right? Be a resource.
Okay.
Work on the business right now to figure out what you're going to do when you come out of this on the other end, right? So talking to people now is building your pipeline, working on the business, like what systems do I have? What do I need? What am I not using, right?
Okay.
What am I not using? And then 3, you need to be better prepared at delivering presentations, getting more presentations, and whether it be live, virtual, or whatever, but it's time to sharpen our visual communications.
Mm-hmm.
Everything
Okay.
needs to be visual.
Yeah.
Less words, more visual, pretty, emotional, and be able to deliver it on many different channels.
And one thing I would say that's something I've had to do. You have to get comfortable sitting and being on camera on a regular basis, but
Mhm.
don't feel like you are, going to be talking on the Today Show. Like, you don't have to get dressed up, or you don't have to. I barely brush my hair and put my makeup on in the morning. It's like people are very forgiving of all of our own internal circumstances. And frankly, the more honest you are about what you're dealing with internally, the more of
100%.
a human connection you're creating, which is a whole different level. And not that we haven't always been humans, obviously we have,
No,
but being a little more vulnerable and like what I've seen is people are peeled back all their veneers, right? Business people have, friends have, everybody has. You just kind of get to the bottom line with people, and like Jeff said, at the end of the day, they're going to remember. Once they get to know that person, they're gonna like that person even better than the person that we've always sort of put forth.
that's right. So like if I'm doing an Instagram post or anything, I'm out, I'm just in my jeans and my sweatshirt. It's okay because
Right.
I'm watching every C-level exec out there right now just getting on video, like just in jeans and a
Exactly.
t-shirt or a sweat. It is what it is. Be where you are.
Exactly.
People
Now,
like who you are.
are there any other questions that anybody has? And Kim, thank you for bringing us back around there. Is there anybody else that has any questions for Jeff? Because he's a knowledge. And then Jeff, give us your email. Let's put it in the chat. Where if they wanted more, to hear more from you, where should they go to if they're because you've got real world experience on how to ride this thing out. If someone's got a question or they're worried or they're challenged, where should
100%.
they go?
Go to just my email address, Jeff at Spark Tank Media, or Jeff at coach52.com. Either one is fine.
Okay, I'm putting that in the Jeff at Spark
Tank
Media. Whoops.
Yep.
Okay. Or what's the other one?
Just Jeff at coach52, coach52.com.
Okay.
And they could.
I'll put mine in here too. Mine is Marilyn at wavegroup.com. Yeah. Okay.
Facebook Messenger works really well for those who want quick responses the best we can.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm here to help. If we can help anybody, brokerage, agents, just mentally, physically, whatever it is, just reach out. We're here to just get people through this. Let's keep moving forward. Let's keep our heads up.
Good. Okay,
and take
good.
one day at a time. Let's just do it.
Yeah, and if anybody has any, we're going to be recorded. This has been recorded. We're going to push it out to all of you guys. Thank you so much for attending today. If you want to share it with anyone, feel free. And if you have any questions for me, I'm at Marilyn at wavegroup.com. We're going to be doing more and more of these. In fact, our Monday, I believe, just got confirmed. It's going to be Rich Gossenbeek, who's from Exact Contact.
Oh, yeah.
They're a great company that does client relationship management software. And so he's going to talk to us about probably just to build on what Jeff was talking about today about what do we do to build and strengthen our relationships while we're in this time of crisis. And frankly, how do we help all of us through it? I can tell you when I talk to my clients, it makes me feel better. My goal is to try to help them, but I got to tell you, just connecting with them and feeling their energy, even though it's through a computer, it just makes you feel better. If you sit in a house by yourself and you start to isolate, boy, that's not good for your psyche. It's better to just get on the phone, right? Even if you're Video is the best for sure. If you can do it, even, now we've got FaceTime and everything on our phones. It's super easy to do it. But anyway, I appreciate your help. So everybody tune in again on Monday. We have a great lineup for you for next week. We're going to be pushing that out to all of you shortly as to who everybody is. This is all happening in real time. So trying to get you great resources that are going to help you just with, just not fun, but practical, simple ways to make this thing work. So Jeff, thank you so much. We really appreciate your help.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That was awesome. Okay, everybody, have a great weekend, everyone, and get some rest because we're going to have to go back at it big again over on Monday. Thank you.
See ya. See ya.